In a quiet stable. In a quiet stable, an unexpected accident changed everything. A horse admired for his strength and beauty found himself immobilized, with no hope of recovery. The specialist said there was nothing more to be done. But a 6-year-old child saw what no one else could see and transformed his destiny. Before hearing this surprising story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories. The mist gently covered the fields of Pinewood Stables that October morning, creating an almost mystical scene. The dew still rested on the grass, and the golden autumn leaves danced to the rhythm of the morning breeze. It seemed like an ordinary day, but fate had other plans for everyone who was part of that special place. Lily Martinez, a 6-year-old girl with honey-colored eyes and brown hair always tied in 2 braids, arrived early at the stable as she did every morning before school. Her mother, Sarah, worked as the stable manager, which allowed the little one to spend a lot of time there, especially in the company of her best friend, Thunder, a majestic copper-coated horse who enchanted everyone with his unique personality. Thunder wasn't an ordinary horse. At 8 years old, he had become the star of the stable, not only for his beauty or exceptional skills in competitions, but mainly for his extraordinary ability to connect with people. He seemed to understand human emotions in an almost supernatural way, adjusting his behavior to comfort those who approached him. "Good morning, big guy," Lily greeted cheerfully, offering an apple to Thunder, who gently took it from her small hand. The connection between the two was visible. While many children showed a natural fear of approaching such a large animal, Lily always demonstrated an unwavering confidence in her equine friend. Sarah watched her daughter with a smile on her lips while organizing the day's training schedules. "Lily, dear, don't forget that today Thunder has training with trainer Michael early on," she reminded her, consulting her clipboard. "Can I stay just a little longer, Mom?" "Please," begged Lily, her eyes shining with that characteristic plea of children. Sarah gave in, as she always did when it came to the special relationship between her daughter and Thunder. The stable began to come to life with the arrival of the staff. Michael, the head trainer, a middle-aged man with vast experience in horseback riding, arrived punctually at 7 o'clock. He had big plans for Thunder, who in recent competitions had stood out as one of the most promising horses in the circuit. It's a bit slippery today," commented Michael to Pete, the handler, as they walked toward Thunder's stall. "Last night's rain left the ground quite wet." Pete nodded, concerned. "Maybe we should postpone the training," he suggested. But Michael was confident. After all, Thunder was known for his exceptional caution and balance. Lily, who was still with Thunder, noticed something different in her friend's behavior that morning. He seemed more agitated than normal, his ears constantly moving, picking up sounds that only he seemed to hear. "It's all right, Thunder," she whispered, stroking his neck. "It's just another training day." When Michael arrived to take Thunder, Lily felt an inexplicable tightness in her chest. It was as if something inside her knew that this morning would be different from all others. Reluctantly, she said goodbye to her friend with a last hug. "Take good care of him," she asked Michael, who smiled at the little girl's seriousness. "As always, Princess," he replied, leading Thunder out of the stall. The sun was beginning to overcome the mist, creating a beautiful spectacle of light among the trees of the old oak that marked the path to the training area. Sarah called Lily to get ready for school, and the girl followed reluctantly, looking back several times, watching Thunder move away. At that moment, no one could imagine that in a few minutes their lives would completely change. Fate was about to test not only Thunder's physical strength, but also the power of a child's unconditional love and her ability to see possibilities where adults only saw limitations. The wind blew stronger, carrying more golden leaves with it, as Thunder headed toward the training field. The day was just beginning, and with it an extraordinary story of overcoming was about to unfold at Pinewood Stables. The sun had already dispersed most of the mist when Michael led Thunder to the training area. The ground was still wet from the previous night's rain, and small puddles reflected the blue sky that was beginning to reveal itself. Michael was confident but cautious. He knew Thunder's abilities well and knew that the horse was sensitive enough to adapt to the terrain. Conditions, Let's go, partner, Michael spoke softly, stroking Thunder's neck. Today we'll do a light training just to stay in shape. Meanwhile, at the stable, Lily was finishing getting ready for school, but her heart was still with Thunder. She couldn't explain it, but she felt an uneasiness that wasn't common. "Mom," she called, while Sarah arranged her backpack, "can we quickly pass by to see Thunder before going to school?" Sarah looked at the clock, hesitant. "Dear, we're going to be late. Besides, Thunder is training now. We can't interrupt." Lily pouted, but accepted her mother's decision. As they walked to the car, she couldn't help but look in the direction of the training field, hoping to catch a glimpse of her equine friend. In the field, Michael began the warm-up with Thunder. The first steps were calm and controlled. The horse was responding well to commands, his coat shining under the morning sunlight. Everything seemed normal until it wasn't anymore. As they passed near the old oak, something unexpected happened. A sudden noise, perhaps a breaking branch or a frightened animal in the brush, made Thunder startle. In a sudden movement, he tried to dodge, but his hind legs slipped on the wet grass. The sound of the impact echoed through the stable. Michael, experienced as he was, managed to stay in the saddle, but immediately felt that something was terribly wrong. Thunder had fallen on his side, and trying to get up, his hind legs weren't responding as they should. "Help!" shouted Michael, his voice loaded with concern. "We need help here." Michael's cry traveled through the morning air, reaching the ears of Sarah and Lily, who were about to get into the car. Lily's heart froze. She knew somehow that it was Thunder. "Mom, it's Thunder, I'm sure of it," exclaimed Lily, her small hands gripping Sarah's blouse. Without hesitation, Sarah picked up Lily in her arms and ran toward the training field. When they arrived, the scene they saw was heartbreaking. Thunder was on the ground, his expressive eyes full of fear and confusion. Michael was by his side, trying to calm him while other stable employees ran to help. "What happened?" asked Sarah, putting Lily on the ground but firmly holding her hand. Michael, with a trembling voice, quickly explained about the sudden noise and the fall. "He can't get up," he concluded, the concern evident on his face. Lily broke free from her mother's hand and ran toward Thunder, ignoring the adult's warnings. She knelt near the horse's head, her small hands gently caressing his muzzle. "It's all right, Thunder," she whispered, tears shining in her eyes. "You're going to be okay, I promise." The connection between the girl and the horse was palpable. Thunder, despite the pain and fear, seemed to calm down with Lily's presence. His eyes, previously full of panic, now conveyed a resigned calm. Sarah quickly called Dr. Jessica, the stable's veterinarian. "Come as quickly as possible," she implored. "We've had an accident with Thunder." The minutes that followed seemed like hours. The stable staff worked together to create a protection around Thunder, shielding him from the sun and trying to keep him as comfortable as possible on the ground. Lily refused to leave his side, murmuring words of comfort and promises that everything would be okay. When Dr. Jessica arrived, her face became serious upon seeing the situation. After a careful examination, she called Sarah and Michael for a private conversation, away from Lily's ears. "The situation is serious," explained the veterinarian, her tone professional but compassionate. "Thunder suffered trauma to the spinal cord. His hind legs are paralyzed and I can't guarantee that he'll walk again." The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah looked at Lily, who was still by Thunder's side, and felt her heart break. How to explain this to a child who saw the horse as her best friend? "What are our options?" asked Michael, his voice almost a whisper. Dr. Jessica sighed. "We'll do what we can to keep him comfortable and start a treatment, but you need to be prepared. If he doesn't show signs of improvement soon, we'll have to consider more difficult alternatives." Sarah felt tears spring to her eyes. She knew what that meant. Looking again at Lily, who continued to comfort Thunder, with a surprising determination for someone so young, Sarah made a silent promise. They would do everything they could, for Thunder, for Lily, for the hope that little girl represented. The day that had begun like any other had turned into a teasy nightmare, but while the adults contemplated the gloomy possibilities, Lily, in her innocence and unconditional love, was already planting the seeds of something extraordinary. something that no one could yet imagine, but that would forever change the lives of everyone at Pinewood Stables. The days following Thunder's accident were somber at Pinewood Stables. The place, once full of joy and activity, now seemed enveloped by a cloud of sadness and concern. The sound of hooves happily hitting the ground was replaced by anxious whispers and worried looks. Lily, however, refused to accept the pessimistic atmosphere that hung over the stable. Every day after school, she ran to be by Thunder's side. The adults had created a comfortable space for the horse in one of the larger barns, with soft hay and protection from the elements. "Hi, Thunder," exclaimed Lily upon entering the barn, her face lighting up upon seeing her friend. "I brought more stories for you today." Sarah observed from a distance, her heart divided between admiration for her daughter's dedication and concern about the eventual outcome of the situation. Dr. Jessica came daily to evaluate Thunder, but her expressions remained serious after each examination. On a particularly cold afternoon, while Lily was reading Thunder a story about a magical unicorn, Sarah approached Dr. Jessica, who had just finished another evaluation. "So?" asked Sarah, her voice low so as not to interrupt Lily. Dr. Jessica sighed, running her hand through her graying hair. "Sarah, I won't lie to you. The situation isn't improving as we hoped. Thunder's hind legs still show no signs of recovery." Sarah felt a knot form in her throat. What does this mean for him, in the long term? "A horse wasn't made to lie down for long periods," explained the veterinarian, her tone compassionate but realistic. "This can lead to serious complications. Pressure ulcers, respiratory problems, circulatory issues. If there's no improvement soon, we'll have to consider more difficult options." The words hung in the air, heavy and painful. Sarah looked at her daughter, who continued reading animatedly to Thunder, apparently oblivious to the adults' conversation. "How much time do we have?" asked Sarah, fearing the answer. "Maybe a week, 2 at most," replied Dr. Jessica. "I'm doing everything I can, but—" At that moment they were interrupted by an excited shout from Lily. "Mom! Dr. Jessica, come see!" exclaimed the girl, jumping with excitement. "Thunder moved his leg, I saw it." The two women quickly approached. Lily was frantically pointing to Thunder's right hind leg. "He tried to move, I'm sure of it," insisted Lily, her eyes shining with hope. Dr. Jessica knelt beside the horse, carefully examining the area indicated by Lily. After some moments of attentive observation and some tests, she turned to Sarah and Lily with a cautious expression, but with a touch of optimism that wasn't there before. "There seems to be some reflex movement," she explained. "It's very subtle, but it's something." Lily clapped her hands with joy. "See, I told you he was going to get better. Thunder is strong." Sarah smiled at her daughter, amazed by her unwavering faith. Dr. Jessica, however, remained cautious. "This is a good sign," she said, "but we still have a long way to go. We can't create very high expectations yet." But for Lily, that small movement was all she needed to believe that a miracle was possible. In the days that followed, she dedicated every free moment to Thunder. Besides reading stories, she began to bring her toys to the barn, creating a small camp next to the horse. One afternoon, while playing with her building blocks near Thunder, Lily had an idea. She began to stack the blocks, creating a structure that vaguely resembled a scaffold. "Look, Thunder," she said, showing her creation to the horse. "It's like that thing that Aunt Rose uses to help people walk again at the hospital. Maybe we can make something like this for you." Sarah, who was observing from a distance, felt a pang of sadness at her daughter's innocence. How to explain that things weren't so simple, that Thunder's recovery, if it happened, would be a long and difficult process? However, when Lily ran to her, eyes shining with excitement, Sarah didn't have the heart to discourage her. "Mom, I had an amazing idea," exclaimed Lily. "What if we made something to help Thunder stand up, like those things that Aunt Rose uses with her patients?" Sarah hugged her daughter, feeling a mixture of pride and concern. "It's a very creative idea, dear," she said softly, "but helping horses is quite different from helping people. I don't know if something like that would work for Thunder." Lily, however, didn't let herself be deterred. "But what if it worked? What if we could try? Please, Mum, Looking into her daughter's hopeful eyes, Sarah felt something change inside her. Perhaps she thought a child's unwavering faith was exactly what everyone needed at that moment. "You know what?" said Sarah, smiling at Lily. "Let's talk to Aunt Rose. Maybe she can give us some ideas." Lily's face lit up with a radiant smile. At that moment, a small seed of hope was planted, a seed that, nourished by the love and determination of a child, could grow and transform into something extraordinary. As the sun set over Pinewood Stables, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, a new energy seemed to hang in the air. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time since the accident, there was a glimpse of possibility. And sometimes that's all you need to change the course of destiny. Aunt Rose was a physical therapist at the city hospital and had always been a great inspiration to Lily. When Sarah called explaining the situation and asking for advice, Rose was intrigued by her niece's idea. "It's an interesting proposal," said Rose over the phone. "I've never heard of something like this for horses, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Why don't I come take a look?" The next day, Rose arrived at Pinewood Stables, carrying a folder, full of drawings and schemes of rehabilitation equipment. Lily received her with a tight hug and immediately took her to see Thunder. "Aunt Rose, do you think you can help?" asked Lily, her eyes shining with hope. Rose examined Thunder carefully, observing his condition and the environment around him. After a few minutes, she turned to Sarah and Lily with a thoughtful expression. "Lily's idea isn't as absurd as it might seem," Rose began. "In human physical therapy, we use weight support systems to help patients with spinal cord injuries train leg movements. Theoretically, we could adapt something similar for a horse." Sarah seemed skeptical. "But a horse is much heavier than a human. How would this work?" Rose nodded, acknowledging the challenge. "Yes, it would be complex. We'd need a robust system, capable of supporting Thunder's weight and allowing him to try to move safely." Lily, who was listening attentively, ran to get her drawing notebook. "Can I show my idea?" she asked, eager. With everyone's permission, Lily opened her notebook, revealing a series of colorful drawings. Though they were obviously the work of a child, there was a surprising logic behind them. "Look, Aunt Rose," explained Lily, pointing to her drawings. "We can make something big like a tent but with strong ropes here and here. This way, Thunder would be hanging, but he could still touch the ground with his hooves." Rose examined the drawings with growing interest. "This is remarkable, Lily. You've captured the basic essence of a weight support system." Excited by her aunt's interest, Lily continued, "And look, we can make the ropes move, so Thunder can try to walk without falling." Sarah watched the scene with a mixture of pride and incredulity. Her 6-year-old daughter had conceived something that could potentially revolutionize equine rehabilitation. Rose turned to Sarah, her eyes shining with professional enthusiasm. "Sarah, this might seem crazy, but I think it's worth trying. With the right adaptations and the help of some engineers, we could create a prototype." Sarah hesitated. "But what if it doesn't work? I don't want to give Lily false hope." Rose placed a comforting hand on Sarah's shoulder. "Sometimes the greatest innovations come from the most unexpected places. And even if it doesn't work for Thunder, think of the potential this would have for other horses in the future." At that moment, Dr. Jessica entered the barn for her daily visit. Seeing the group gathered and the excitement in the air, she asked what was happening. Lily, unable to contain her excitement, ran to the veterinarian. "Dr. Jessica, we have an idea to help Thunder stand up again." Dr. Jessica listened patiently while Lily, Rose, and Sarah explained the concept. Initially skeptical, the veterinarian's expression changed as she understood the potential of the idea. "It's risky," she said finally, "but it's also brilliant. If we could implement something like this, we could not only help Thunder, but potentially revolutionize the treatment of equine injuries worldwide." The excitement in the air was palpable. Lily jumped with joy. Sarah smiled cautiously, and Rose was already making notes and more detailed sketches. "What do we need to do now?" asked Sarah, finally feeling hopeful for the first time since the accident. "First, we need a team," replied Rose. "I'll get in touch with some engineer colleagues. Sarah, can you talk to the stable management? We'll need permission and possibly funding. Dr. Jessica nodded. I can contact some veterinary medicine specialists. The more support we have, the better. While the adults discussed the next steps, Lily approached Thunder, gently stroking his neck. "Hear that, big guy?" she whispered. "We're going to make you stand up again. I promise." Thunder whinnied softly as if he understood. His eyes, always expressive, seemed to shine with a new light. In the days that followed, Pinewood Stables transformed into a center of frantic activity. Engineers, veterinarians, and rehabilitation specialists began to arrive, all intrigued by the innovative idea that had been born from a child's imagination. The project, which was soon nicknamed Operation Pegasus, in honor of the winged horse of Greek mythology, began to take shape. Technical drawings were created, materials were ordered, and an atmosphere of cautious optimism began to spread throughout the stable. Lily, for her part, spent every free moment by Thunder's side, telling him about the progress and promising that soon he would be standing again. As the sun set over Pinewood Stables that night, illuminating the sky with shades of orange and pink, there was a palpable feeling that something extraordinary was about to happen. The journey would be long and challenging, but for the first time since the accident, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and all thanks to the imagination and unconditional love of a child who refused to give up on her friend. The weeks following the conception of Operation Pegasus were intense and challenging. Pinewood Stables, previously a quiet place dedicated to the training and care of horses, transformed into a center of innovation, bustling with activity. Engineers, veterinarians, and equine rehabilitation specialists from across the country began to arrive, attracted by the boldness of the project. The barn where Thunder was housed became the epicenter of this revolution, with drawing tables, computers, and miniature prototypes occupying every available inch. Lily, despite her tender age, was at the center of everything. Her original idea continued to be the foundation of the project, and the adults often turned to her for inspiration when facing obstacles. "It's amazing how a child's mind can see solutions that we, adults, often lose sight of," commented Dr. Carl, one of the lead engineers on the project, after a long discussion about the support system design. However, not everything was rosy. As the project progressed, new challenges constantly emerged. The biggest was creating a system that was strong enough to support Thunder's weight, but flexible enough to allow natural movement. "The problem is balance," explained Rose during one of the many team meetings. "If the support is too rigid, Thunder won't be able to move naturally. If it's too flexible, it might not offer the necessary support." Additionally, there was the issue of time. Thunder's condition, though stable thanks to the tireless care of Dr. Jessica and her team, couldn't remain so indefinitely. With each passing day, the risks of complications increased. Sarah, divided between her role as the stable's manager and Lily's mother, felt the weight of responsibility. "What if we don't make it in time?" she asked Rose one night after Lily had finally fallen asleep, exhausted after another long day at the stable. Rose hugged her sister, understanding her concern. "We're doing our best, Sarah, and even if we can't help Thunder in time, think of how many other animals we might save in the future with this technology." Meanwhile, Lily remained tirelessly optimistic. Every day after school, she ran to the stable, eager to see the progress and spend time with Thunder. "Look, big guy," she would exclaim, showing Thunder the new drawings and prototypes. Soon you'll be walking again, I promise." The connection between Lily and Thunder seemed stronger than ever. The horse, even in his debilitated condition, always seemed to perk up with the girl's presence. His eyes would gain a special sparkle, and he would often try to raise his head to reach her. One day during one of these visits, something extraordinary happened. Lily was sitting beside Thunder, reading him one of her favorite stories, when suddenly the horse made a more pronounced movement with his hind legs. "Mom! Dr. Jessica! Come quick!" shouted Lily, her voice trembling with emotion. Everyone rushed to see what was happening. Dr. Jessica immediately began examining Thunder, her face a mixture of concentration and contained hope. "There's definitely an increase in motor response," she declared after a few minutes of careful examination. "It's not much, but it's significant progress compared to a few weeks ago." The news spread quickly through the stable, injecting a new dose of energy and determination into the team. It was as if Thunder was telling everyone that he hadn't given up, that he was fighting alongside them. "See?" said Lily, her eyes shining with tears of joy. "I knew you could do it, Thunder. You're the strongest and bravest horse in the world." That small progress was the boost the team needed. In the days that followed, the work intensified even more. Sleepless nights became common, with engineers and veterinarians working tirelessly to finalize the prototype. Finally, after weeks of hard work, tests, and adjustments, the support system was ready for its first real test. The structure, an impressive combination of cutting-edge technology and creative engineering, occupied a good part of the barn. Specially designed harnesses, high-resistance pulleys, and a computerized weight control system formed the heart of Operation Pegasus. On the eve of the big day, Sarah found Lily asleep. Next to Thunder, her small body curled up against the horse's flank. Careful not to wake her, Sarah covered her daughter with a blanket. "You two are amazing," she whispered, looking at Lily and Thunder. "No matter what happens tomorrow, you've already worked a miracle." As night fell over Pinewood Stables, a mixture of anxiety and hope hung in the air. The next day would bring the moment of truth. Would a little girl's dream be able to overcome all obstacles and give Thunder the chance to stand again? The answer was just a few hours away, and everyone at the stable could hardly wait to find out. Dawn came to Pinewood Stables with a palpable mixture of expectation and nervousness in the air. The day everyone had been anxiously waiting for had finally arrived, the first real test of the support system for Thunder. Lily woke up early, having barely slept during the night from so much excitement. She ran to the barn even before breakfast, determined to be by Thunder's side at every moment of this crucial day. "Good morning, big guy," she exclaimed, entering the barn. "Today's the big day. Are you ready?" Thunder whinnied softly in response, as if he understood the importance of the moment. His expressive eyes seemed to reflect a mixture of anxiety and determination that echoed the feelings of everyone around him. Throughout the morning, the barn filled with people. The engineering team was making final adjustments to the system. Veterinarians were preparing monitoring equipment, and a small film crew, invited to document the historic event, was setting up their cameras. Sarah watched everything with a lump in her throat, divided between hope and fear. She approached Lily, who was sitting next to Thunder, whispering words of encouragement in his ear. "Dear," Sarah called softly, "it's almost time. Are you ready?" Lily looked at her mother, her eyes shining with a mixture of excitement and determination. "I am, Mom. Thunder and I are ready for anything." Dr. Jessica approached, her face serious but gentle. "All right, folks, let's begin. Lily, I need you to stay a bit away while we put Thunder in the system, okay? I promise that as soon as it's safe, you can approach." Lily nodded, reluctant to leave her friend's side, but understanding the necessity. She joined Sarah, Rose, and the other spectators in a designated area, anxiously watching as the team began to prepare Thunder. With care and precision, the veterinarians and engineers worked together to position the specially designed harnesses around Thunder's body. The horse, surprisingly calm, seemed to understand the importance of the moment and cooperated fully. "Support system activated," announced one of the engineers after a few tense minutes. Beginning gradual elevation. An absolute silence fell over the barn as the system slowly began to raise Thunder. Inch by inch, the horse was lifted from the ground. Lily squeezed her mother's hand tightly, her eyes fixed on every movement of her equine friend. When Thunder was completely suspended, Dr. Jessica began to examine his reactions. "Vital signs stable," she announced. "No signs of discomfort. Let's try the next step." Slowly, the system began to lower Thunder, allowing his front legs to touch the ground. The horse instinctively tried to steady himself. "Look!" Lily suddenly shouted. "The hind legs, they're moving." All eyes turned to Thunder's hind legs. Indeed, there was a subtle but unmistakable movement. The horse was trying to use his hind legs to help support his weight. Dr. Jessica quickly moved to examine more closely. "Amazing," she murmured. "There's definitely a voluntary muscular response. It's not much, but it's more than we had a few weeks ago." The emotion in the barn was palpable. Tears of joy streamed down Sarah's face. Rose hugged the engineers, and even the most skeptical members of the team couldn't hide their smiles. "Can I go to him now?" asked Lily, barely able to contain her excitement. After a quick nod from Dr. Jessica, Lily ran to Thunder's side. "You did it!" she exclaimed, hugging the horse's neck. "I knew you could do it." Thunder whinnied softly, lowering his head to gently touch Lily's shoulder. The connection between the two was almost palpable, moving everyone who watched. In the following minutes, the team continued to carefully monitor Thunder's reactions. The horse seemed to be adapting well to the system, showing encouraging signs of movement and balance. "This is just the beginning," explained Dr. Jessica to the gathered group. "We have a long road ahead, but this is more than we expected at this stage. Thunder is showing us that recovery is possible." Sarah approached Lily, who was still beside Thunder. "You made this happen, dear," she said, hugging her daughter. "Your idea, your faith, you never gave up." Lily smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. "It wasn't just me, Mum. It was everyone, and especially Thunder. He's the bravest of all of us." As the afternoon sun bathed the barn in a golden light, there was a feeling of triumph in the air. The first test had been a success beyond the most optimistic expectations. Of course, there was still much work ahead, many challenges to overcome. But at that moment, in that barn at Pinewood Stables, something extraordinary had happened. Operation Pegasus wasn't just about saving a horse. It was about the power of hope, innovation, and unconditional love. It was about how a child's pure vision could inspire adults to do the impossible. And, above all, it was about Thunder, a horse who, against all odds, was taking his first steps toward a future that, just a few weeks earlier, had seemed impossible. As the team began preparations to lower Thunder back to his rest, Lily whispered in the horse's ear, "This is just the beginning, big guy. Soon we'll be running together through the fields again, I promise." And somehow everyone there knew that this wasn't just a child's promise. It was a vision of the future that, thanks to Lily's determination and Thunder's courage, was closer to becoming reality than they had ever imagined possible. The weeks following the first successful test of the support system were an emotional roller coaster for everyone at Pinewood Stables. The initial success had brought a wave of optimism, but it also brought new challenges and expectations. For Thunder, each day brought a new battle. The therapy sessions, now an integral part of his routine, were intense and often exhausting. The support system, affectionately nicknamed Pegasus Wings by Lily, allowed Thunder to stand and try to take steps, but the process was slow and sometimes painful. Lily, true to her promise, was by Thunder's side every step of the way. She adjusted her school routine to be able to spend afternoons at the stable, often doing her homework sitting next to her equine friend, while he rested between sessions. "You're doing so well, Thunder," she would encourage, stroking the horse's neck after a particularly difficult session. "Remember when you couldn't even stand on your own? Look at you now." Dr. Jessica and her team monitored Thunder's progress carefully. Each small advance was celebrated, each setback studied and learned from. "It's amazing," commented the veterinarian during a team meeting. "Thunder's capacity for recovery is exceeding our expectations, and I can't help but think that a large part of this is due to the emotional support he receives, especially from Lily." Sarah, observing her daughter's tireless dedication, felt a mixture of pride and concern. "I'm worried that she's getting too involved," she confessed to Rose one night. What if things don't work out in the end?" Rose hugged her sister, understanding her concern. "Sarah, what Lily is doing is extraordinary. She's learning about compassion, perseverance, and the power of believing in something greater than herself. No matter the final outcome, these lessons will stay with her forever." Meanwhile, news of Thunder's progress and the innovative support system began to spread beyond the limits of Pinewood Stables. Journalists, equine specialists, and even celebrities began to visit the stable, all wanting to see for themselves the miracle in progress. One day, during one of these visits, something unexpected happened. A famous actress, known for her love of horses, was observing one of Thunder's therapy sessions when Lily approached her. "Do you think you can help other horses like Thunder?" asked Lily, her voice full of hope. The actress, touched by the girl's sincerity, knelt down to be at eye level with Lily. "You know what? I think I can. In fact, you just gave me an incredible idea." End of story.